I did not expect to be here this long when I first came either. If you're trying to read Pinyin like you think Pinyin should be read, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And that was the first time that Chinese came out of my mouth that I hadn't prepared mentally first. Again, I'm not Chinese, so I'm just giving my feeling, my impression. But, we don't care if they learn anything. We just want them to be safe and happy and have a little fun time because it might be the last time they get it. The 996 thing.
The 996 means you work 9 till 9 every day and you work 6 days a week. So the next question might be a little bit sensitive.
Okay.
What's your impression of Chinese people?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's impossible to generalize, right? Like anyone in general. I mean, we can make some general statements about culture and stuff like that, but of course, every person's a little different, and some people buck a trend, things like that. I know I have an American friend who I do not think is a very good representation of how Americans are, Okay. So, it's really hard to say on an individual basis. But overall, kind of what I'm going to say probably comes from the culture. I think first and foremost, China is a country with a lot of people.
Yes.
And that really has an effect on how people, interact with each other and are and how they think.
Yeah.
Schooling here is necessarily kind of factory-like because who has the resources to have these very small classes, individual one-on-one attention
with a foreign teacher
and all that? Yeah, when you're dealing with 1.6 billion people that you have to educate, right? And so I think a lot of the things that even Chinese people themselves are kind of frustrated with,
we are
having to study really hard for this massive test at school or university or things like that. It's a function of this. It's not necessarily of any ideology. It's because of this very real problem of you've got to manage a way to educate all these people and get them to universities and colleges. So it can feel pretty brutal, I think. If you don't take a test well, or for some reason you're just not studying well in school, I think you can kind of feel like your life options are very, very limited. And so then, now again, I'm not Chinese, so I'm just giving my feeling, my impression, but you're not.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Good.
You're absolutely right.
I'm on the money.
Yeah.
So the amount of pressure that a kid has growing up is just intense. I have a lot of sympathy for this, and I think being in education helped give me that perspective. And I can see where especially wealthier parents who can afford to give their kids more opportunities and more individualized attention are absolutely going to want to take advantage of that. And I was surprised, when I was working in kindergarten, how many parents told me I don't care about academics right now. I just want them to have a nice, happy little childhood here before things get intense.
Good parent.
And terrible. Yeah. So several parents just told us that, we don't care if they learn anything. We just want them to be safe and happy and have a little fun time because it might be the last time they get it.
in their lifetime.
Yeah. So I can imagine if I grew up in that environment, it would change me, It
would.
I wouldn't be the same person I am today because I had quite the opposite of that. I had a very comfortable upbringing and a very loving family and that was doing fine financially.
Yeah.
And in a school system where people are encouraged to not study 24/7.
Yeah. I think that's where normal life should be.
I think so too.
Yeah. You're not supposed to be studying 24/7. I mean, what kind of life is that?
It's terrible. And then you come out of that and now you have to find a job.
Yeah.
Amongst 1.6 billion people.
1.6 billion people.
That's gotta be horrible.
That is horrible, yes.
So, what I said earlier about things feeling pretty ruthless and things, it's not because I think Chinese people are ruthless, mean people, manipulative or whatever. I just think there's an element of this that is just a natural function of this situation where you have to fight and claw for a position in a company.
Yeah.
You're going to come up at, you apply for a position, it's going to be thousands of applicants,
Yes.
and they're looking for any reason to get rid of you, because they got to make a decision. And also then they can maybe, do some things that aren't legal, ask you, are you planning on having children? There are laws, to protect people in the workplace for things like that, but
it still happens.
It still happens because of this situation, right? And so that is a very difficult situation to deal with. And like I said, I've really had to reconfigure my way of approaching and handling people because I know that I'm in a position of privilege while I'm here.
Kind of.
I mean, I really am. I'm in a
Yeah.
position of privilege while I'm here. I have opportunities a lot of other people don't. And I can make money that a lot of other people really, really struggle to make money. That's very obvious, very visible. Everybody knows it. So on the one hand, I feel very humbled by that. On the other hand, I'm very protective because I feel like I'm a big target, for people to take advantage of me.
Yeah.
That said, this is the safest country by far I've ever lived in. I do never feel for fear for my physical safety ever. I've never been afraid. It's hard to go back to another country, in my home country even. I really have to readjust my mindset. Like, I have to go back to my defensive mode of care and safety, and not walking down the wrong places at night or the wrong part of town, knowing what the wrong part of town is. Here, I never have to worry about that, and that actually makes traveling around the country quite nice. I never fear for my safety here, but I always am on the lookout for people taking advantage of me in other ways.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking that primarily from the business, from the business world.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, I'm kind of in a roundabout way answering your question in a very diplomatic way, because I'm not just going to come out and say, my impression of Chinese people is they always want to take advantage of me.
Yeah.
No, it's not my impression of Chinese people. But it happens a lot more frequently here than it would back home. I find myself much less trusting at first here. And I think it's a smart way to be. And that also is going to help me be taken advantage of less at home, because perhaps I'm a little too trusting at times. There's a balance. I don't have a lot of Chinese friends. The Chinese friends I have mostly speak English. But the people who don't even speak English, I'm surprised that they're often willing to and interested in engaging me.
Yeah, they're just nice.
I do find them friendly and nice.
Yeah.
My parents came to visit. This last time they came to visit, they were like, my gosh, everybody's so nice.
Yeah.
They were getting a lot of attention. My son was getting a lot of attention, just because we look different. But it was positive attention. Like,
it's positive attention.
It's positive attention. It's a curiosity. It's a kindness. And one thing I had to learn that I had wrong about Chinese people was kind of a function of the language itself. Because when you first come here and you hear it, it sounds very harsh. And
we talk very loud as well.
People talk very loud, and it sounds like people are yelling at each other all day long, all around. You can walk by and see people and swear they're fighting, and it turns out they're just having a very spirited conversation. The stuff they're talking about is quite benign, normal everyday stuff.
Yeah.
And so like once I kind of started to realize these things, I calmed down considerably. But I think these are kinds of things, again, that if you don't learn the language, and you live here for, say, a short period of time, you're never going to know that, and you're going to leave with a very different impression. And I think it's unfortunate, and that's another reason why you really need to learn the language to a certain degree.
To a certain degree,
you don't need to be a master.
Yeah,
you just need to know that these people aren't yelling at you. A few of the major bad words, so that
the major bad words, so you will know when people are saying those things.
Then you know.
That's very important. That is very important.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can really blow a situation out of proportion. You could be on the defensive when you didn't need to be, and you can again overall have a general overhaul feeling of how people are here that's just not true. Yeah. So yeah. It's a very complicated question. I gave a very complicated answer.
It's a very good answer. Thank you.
But you can't possibly cover it all anyway, right?
Do you feel like the work environment here is competitive?
Highly competitive.
Highly competitive.
Highly competitive. Yeah. I'm in a nice little niche where there's very little competition because it's a very specialized thing. So I'm an exception to the rule. Yeah. But what I see from my colleagues and my Chinese colleagues out there, they're working very, very hard. Yeah. They're working, I dare say, far harder than anyone I know back home. And I mean, we work hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disparaging us. But the thing is, like, we can, like, kind of set it aside and go home and relax and still survive. But people here, sometimes, you feel like they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah, they work overtime all the time, every day.
The 996 thing.
The 996 means you work 9 till 9 every day, and you work 6 days a week.
Yeah. And Americans would be up in arms and forming unions and, trying to, like, battle that kind of thing. But once again, here, hey, if you don't like it, there's 1,000 more people waiting in line behind you for that position.
Leave.
So it's very, very hard to change that circumstance, and you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And I hope that changes. And once that's a mindset, right, it's hard to break through that, right? For that.
Yeah.
People are now actually the whole lying flat thing, and there's a whole movement of, but I don't know if that's more just an expression of hopelessness than it is like a real movement of change.
Some young people, like I'm gonna say maybe my generation, some people from my generation, or like from a little sister generation, like people who was born after 2000. So they've developed this like new concept of life. So they try to work less, and they try to find new way out. New way out means like they might not go to work after they graduate from universities or whatever. They might just find something. Well, they might just like choose to become like a blogger, like a YouTuber, like a streamer, like
right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So that to them is like a new world.
Right.
It opens more doors. That's also kind of thing that people choose to do now. But those kind of jobs are still considered not serious enough. Yeah, especially to our parents. If my sister ever get a job like that, my mom will be furious about it. Because to her, like her generation, like she's born in the 60s.
Yeah.
So to her, it's like, well, that's not a job. Like even though you're making money out of it, she's like, to her generation, internet is still kind of new, so she doesn't really understand whatever people doing online now is actually a serious thing. It's like a serious job.
It's not as prestigious or seen as prestigious or seen as long lasting or solid.
They don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Like our parents' generation, they still don't see it that way. But like I said, there are more and more young people. They don't want to get trapped in those old working environment where you have to compete every day.
Yeah, and we're kind of getting more used to a more dynamic working situation, right? Where maybe we're changing jobs a lot, or we're pursuing a lot, or it's just so complicated now. And it's the same in the States, really, but like here, it's like seems like it's amped up to 1,000.
Yeah, because considering how many people we have.
Yeah, it's really that bad, and speaking of like say creativity, I feel like the education system, because it's so test oriented, really beats a lot of creativity out of people here. And that's really sad. As far as like the arts and like that kind of creativity go.
Yeah.
But I do very much admire Chinese people as a whole as getting very creative about ways to make money.
Yeah.
And ways to survive.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. And so, like, I'm not sure anybody I know back home can hold a candle to my average Chinese friend who, in figuring out ways to get by, and live and survive. Like,
because we used to be really, really poor. And when you're really, really poor, you kind of have to be more creative. Otherwise, you can't live. You have to figure out, like different ways for you to survive, for you to make money, for you to bargain, for you to, do everything. So that's, I think, probably one of the reasons.
It's very exciting.
Why you think,
it's very exciting being in this atmosphere as a, working in this environment, because there's nothing like it back home.
Yeah.
The amount of dynamic, like I just said earlier, when we had our previous talk, like how things are changing so quickly, and how people are adjusting to them, and how people are finding ways to make that work and finding ways to make money out of new ideas and new things, and then everybody pounces on that.
Yeah.
And now everybody's trying, and working through it. It's so dynamic and so interesting.
Okay, so the next question is going to be really sensitive. What do you dislike the most about Chinese people? Because I don't want this video to be like all good
rah,
things
rah,
about
everything's
China.
great.
Yeah, because nothing is all good.
I hope I'm presenting a balanced perspective here, on things,
it's
because
fine.
But yeah, I mean, obviously with every culture, every place, there's going to be some negative and positive, and some of it really has to do with my perspective. What do I prefer? What do I like?
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to find something. Really, it's not like where do I begin? It's more like what is it that annoys me? Kind of like I said at the outset, when I first got here, there were a lot of things I didn't understand, and so there were a lot of things that annoyed me, and made me angry. But now that I actually kind of understand and have adapted to things, a lot of those initial impressions and feelings and annoyances have kind of gone away. Some of it has to do with empathy. I think a lot we've just been talking about, is like realizing, look, because this person might act the way they do because they're just pretty desperate right now, or they feel like, you know, or they haven't learned any other way, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's true all around the world. So, just the more empathy you have, I think the more you kind of like don't find people annoying, you know, like a whole group of people, I dislike this about them, you know, come on, we're all individual creatures. We're more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
But okay, there's a messiness to life here, like a physical messiness that I still can't find excuses for. Spitting in the street.
Yeah. That's one of the most horrible things people do here. Yeah. It is very gross.
And I want to think
unhealthy.
I want to think that the younger generation is not doing this as much. I want to think that, but I don't know. It's hard to see evidence of that.
I don't really pay attention to that kind of thing. I think like to me, maybe less young people doing that. I think because it's considered a really bad behavior. Worldwide, like you don't want to do that
go
anywhere.
On the streets of Paris and start spitting around, and also like in restaurants and things like that. I think people I also think it's part of a different mindset to what's my job and what's your job. People will like have a big meal and like just kind of create the mess that you create when you're with 8 or 9 friends and having like a 3 or 4 hour meal with lots of drinks and things like that, and then just leave. And this table's just a disaster, and the floor is just a disaster. Or go to McDonald's, and like just open up your wrappers, eat your meal, and just walk off.
Yeah.
I mean, there are garbage cans right there for you in trays for you to take your stuff in.
Most people here don't do it.
They don't. And I talked to some of my friends about that, and I get their perspective. Some of them are like, well, that's the job of this person who's right there in the corner to clean. And what I want to say to them is, yes, but... It is their job, but their job isn't to clean everything, every piece of mess that you made. It's to clean the stuff you can't throw away.
Yeah.
It's the ketchup that's on the floor and the things that are on the salt that you spilled and things like that. It's not the wrappers that you can very easily.
You can easily just take it and put it in the.
We're supposed to work together here and create this thing and not have all this extra work for this person who's supposed to be wiping things down and sweeping the floors for you. So that is annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I find it annoying as well.
That said, though, I don't want to give you impression that that just everywhere you go, people are really, really messy, because one thing I just love about China that I did not expect is the prevalence, at least in Beijing, of public bathrooms and how clean they are.
Oh yeah, the public. Yeah. That's true. Yeah,
even my life in Japan, I did not find as good. And I think Japanese people are very neat and clean and obsessed with, especially toilet sanitation. They've got more devices and ways to use the toilet than anything else. But I gotta say, China's got a leg up on them.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably because their attendance, right?
Yeah.
Like the government really puts, I guess it's just another way to put people to work.
Yeah, because you see people, like they just, it's their job to like clean the public bathrooms like maybe 3 times a day.
They hang out around there all day long.
Yeah, the morning and noon, dinner time. Yeah, so they would go in and clean. That's what they do. That's their job. Or part of their jobs.
Yeah. And not always, but probably more often than not, there's soap in there that I can use.
Yeah.
Which is a personal pet peeve of mine.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's really good. So what did I come up with? Messiness. Messiness. Oh, and also, again, and this is a big cultural thing too, is a general like unaware, like being unaware of other people around you, and when you're in public. So like, I need to get on the subway. All right, I can't get on the subway when you were standing right in front of me. I can't get off the side. I know you want to get on the subway.
Yeah, but you need to let me out.
You need to let me out first.
Yeah.
Why are you standing there and making me push my way past you?
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I can push my way past them and they'll be fine with it. It's just like, can we just? You can just move. Can
we
just move?
Yeah, that's one of the things that if you come here, if you're on the subway, that's something that you will observe. Like people just like standing right in front of you and they're not getting off. So you're standing here and you'd be like, can I please? And there might be 2 or 3 people like just standing in line like in front of you when you want to get off the subway. And you know, how am I going to get through this? Yeah. That happens. Yeah.
You don't get a lot of the niceties and politeness that American culture almost requires, right? Like, please, thank you, I'm sorry, excuse me. Yeah. These words just don't they're not necessary here. This is what I'm going to say. Like, it's not because people are more rude in their language. It's just that they just don't use those words as much.
No, they don't.
And they don't expect them.
We don't.
So I'm like, I probably come across as a weirdo when I run around and I'm always saying, 对不起, excuse
well, they
me.
understand because you're not from here. So
yeah.
You're fine.
That's probably it.
There's also one of the things is like so if you're not Chinese, if you don't look like us, then basically whatever you do, people would kind of understand.
Yeah.
You know, he's not from here, so he's American. But like whenever you think that you're doing something weird, it's not considered weird here because they understand because you're not Chinese. Yeah.
They just think, oh, that's just the way they are.
Yeah, it's just the way the Americans do.
It's just a weird American doing a weird American thing.
Tell me about one of your favorite Chinese coworkers or friends.
I can't use you.
Well, you can if you want. I'm right here.
Elaine is one of my favorite Chinese coworkers and friends. She's so sweet. We've known each other for so long. She's just will
9
help.
years.
She will help me out, like at the drop of a hat. Come out and do. We've done everything. We've gone out partying together. We have sat at home. When my son was born, she was accompanying my wife to the hospital to go through these classes and translate for her. Yeah. Then when he was born, you were always seeing the baby, and we were always having these moments together and stuff. I mean, Elaine has just been so helpful. Will help out with language things without me even asking. Like, I was totally going to sort out that gas thing by myself, and I could have. But you were just like, no, give me your phone. I'm just going to take care of this for you. That's the kind of person she is. It's so nice. Yeah. So
if I could help, why not?
Yeah. And I married you. I didn't marry her. I performed the ceremony at her wedding.
At my wedding,
Yeah.
He was my priest.
Yeah, you're one of my dearest friends here, and we really don't even see each other that much. It's kind of funny. We kind of slip. This is how life is, right? You're busy, I'm busy.
But if you're really good friends, you don't really need to hang out that much to stay that kind of relationship.
That's right. I got to say too, the coworkers that I have, and some of the she said, I shoot a lot of these mobile game ads, and one of the companies that I shoot most frequently with, my coworkers there are just some of the most fun people. I am. Someday, obviously, I'm not going to have that job anymore, but and I will cry. I might cry right now just thinking about the possibility because once we all got to know each other, it's just so cool how we can be in this group, and the cameraman in particular that comes out almost every time for this. He's just a fun, easygoing guy, and we all have this routine, and we joke with each other, and it's funny because I never expect this guy to know any English, right? But just through the course of the work time, he's been trying, like picking up things like, how do I say this? Okay, move forward, and then pretty soon it becomes part of his vocabulary.
That's how you learn language.
Exactly. And it's so fun to watch this happen, and just how much we enjoy this process of working together through these language things, and how much I've learned from him. And I mean, it's just been this nice little balance. And he's like one of my favorite people in Beijing, and I see him, 2 or 3 times a week. But nice. I've never been out to dinner with him or anything. But
you just work together.
We just work together.
But he's a really good coworker.
I trust that guy, with my whole heart.
It's rare for you to find people like that.
Yeah, it is.